Hey there, curious minds, and welcome to this intellectual journey. You live your life taking for granted that the world around you is real, that the chair you're sitting on is solid, that your memories are truly yours, that the ground beneath you won't disappear. But have you ever stopped to ask, how do you know that with absolute, undeniable certainty? What if it were all a sophisticated illusion? This isn't a sci-fi question. It's the question that tormented a man in the 17th century, a man who dared to dismantle the entire edifice of human knowledge to find an unshakable foundation. His name was René Descartes, and his quest changed the world forever, ushering in what we now call modern philosophy. Today, we're not just going through a dusty history lesson, we're going to perform his thought experiment. We're going to walk with him into the abyss of absolute doubt to find the one truth that even the most powerful deceiver couldn't snatch away from us. Are you ready to doubt everything you know? Join me. The journey is well worth it. Before we begin, a quick note. To bring this narrative to life, I've used AI tools to generate the visuals you're seeing. Think of them as a canvas, a way to illustrate the ideas and atmosphere of our story. They won't always be a literal representation, but a visual accompaniment to let your imagination soar with me. I truly hope you enjoy it. To understand Descartes, we must understand his era. He was born in 1596 into a world in crisis. The solid authority of medieval scholastic philosophy, based on Aristotle and the Church, was crumbling. Old answers no longer sufficed. The world felt uncertain, fractured by religious wars and shaken by new discoveries. Think about it. Copernicus had already stated that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe. Galileo, a contemporary of Descartes, was confirming it with his telescope, facing the wrath of the Inquisition. Science as we know it was being born, but it needed a solid philosophical foundation. It needed a method. Descartes received the best possible education at the Jesuit College of La Flèche. He studied logic, philosophy, mathematics, and the classics. But upon graduating, he felt a deep disappointment. He realized that outside of mathematics, he hadn't learned anything that was truly certain, nothing about which one couldn't doubt. Everything was a sea of contradictory opinions. So he did something radical. He abandoned his books and enlisted as a soldier, traveling across Europe. He decided he would learn from the great book of the world. But even there, he found the same uncertainty. Different cultures held different truths. What was virtuous in one place was vile in another. This inconsistency deeply frustrated him. Legend has it that in the winter of 1619, while in Germany, Descartes had a series of life-changing dreams. He took refuge in a room heated by a stove, and in a night of intense meditation, he conceived the idea of a new method to unify all human knowledge based on the certainty of mathematics. He wondered, why were mathematics so clear and certain, while philosophy was a chaos of endless debates? The answer was the method. Mathematics starts with simple, undoubtable axioms, like a line is the shortest distance between 2 points, and builds complex arguments step by step, logically. Descartes set out to find the axiom of philosophy. He wanted to find a starting point as indubitable as a mathematical axiom, upon which he could build, with the same logical certainty, a complete system of knowledge. But first he had to demolish the old edifice. This is where the real adventure begins. Descartes didn't become a skeptic. Skepticism is doubting for the sake of doubting. He used doubt as a tool, like an acid to dissolve everything false and leave only the pure metal of truth. We call this methodological doubt, and it has several levels. To articulate this project, Descartes wrote several works, but the most famous for this method are the Discourse on Method and the Meditations on First Philosophy. In them, he invites us to follow his train of thought, step by step, like a guide on a perilous expedition. Before doubting, he establishes his method. In the Discourse on Method, he gives us 4 famous rules. They are deceptively simple. The first is the most important, never to accept anything as true unless it presented itself to me so clearly and distinctly that there was no occasion to doubt it. The second rule is analysis, to divide each complex problem into as many smaller parts as possible. It's like taking apart a clock to understand how it works. You can't understand the whole if you don't understand the parts. The third rule is synthesis. Once you understand the simple parts, you must reconstruct the argument, moving from the simplest and easiest to the most complex. It's building the logical ladder, rung by rung, ensuring each step is firmly supported by the previous one. And the fourth rule is enumeration, to review the entire argument so many times that you're sure you haven't omitted anything. It's the double, triple, and quadruple check. It's intellectual quality assurance. With these tools in hand, Descartes is ready to begin the demolition. Here begins the first meditation. Descartes sits down, perhaps by his famous stove, and decides to apply the first rule. What things can I doubt? Let's start with the most obvious, my senses. I trust my eyes, my ears, my touch, but are they reliable? Immediately the answer is no. Our senses deceive us. A stick half submerged in water appears bent. An object at a distance looks smaller than it is. If my senses have deceived me even once, how can I trust them completely? They are not an indubitable foundation. But you might say, okay, they deceive me at a distance, but not right now. I know I'm sitting here wearing these clothes, that these are my hands. To doubt that would seem insane. Descartes agrees it would be like a madman. But then he introduces the second level of doubt, the dream argument. How many times Descartes says, have I dreamed I was right here sitting by the fire when in reality I was unclothed in my bed? Dreams can be incredibly vivid. I can feel, hear, and see in a dream with the same intensity as in waking life. If I've had such real dreams, how can I be absolutely certain that I'm not dreaming right now? What indubitable proof do I have that this experience, this video, you're listening, isn't part of an incredibly long and coherent dream? The answer is none. This is a harsh blow. With the dream argument, Descartes has cast doubt on the entire physical world. My body, my hands, the sky, the earth, everything could be an invention of my sleeping mind. He just wiped physics, biology, and astronomy off the map of certainty. But Descartes pauses for a moment. Wait, he says, even if I'm dreaming, the things I dream about are made of simpler parts. Painters who invent fantastic creatures compose them from real parts, eyes, wings, bodies. And what's more, the truths that govern those forms seem secure. These truths are those of mathematics. Whether I'm awake or asleep, 2 plus 3 will always be 5. A square will always have 4 sides. It seems we've found something that survives the dream. Logic and mathematics, right? This is where Descartes delivers his masterstroke. He introduces the third and deepest level of doubt, hyperbolic doubt. It's a terrifying thought experiment. Descartes says, let's forget the dream. Let's assume just for a moment that a God exists. But what if this God isn't good? What if, instead of a benevolent God, there exists an evil genius, a malin génie, an all-powerful and malicious being who has put all his energy into deceiving me? What if this demon makes me believe that 2 plus 3 equals 5, when in reality it's 6? This is the most extreme doubt. This evil genius could be manipulating my mind at its most fundamental level. He could make me wrong every time I think. Under this hypothesis, I can't even trust mathematics. I can't trust logic. I'm left with nothing. Descartes has backed himself into a corner. He has plunged into an abyss of total skepticism. There's no physical world, no body, no mathematics. There's only the possibility of massive universal deception. This is the lowest point of the meditations. It is the void. And then, right at the bottom of the abyss, when it seems all is lost, Descartes sees a light. It's the revelation that defines modern philosophy. He finds it in the very act of doubting. Think about it. The evil genius can deceive me. He can make me believe I have a body when I don't. He can make me believe the sky is blue. He can make me believe that 2 plus 3 equals 5. But to deceive me, for me to be deceived, I must exist. A being that does not exist cannot be deceived. I can doubt everything except one thing. I cannot doubt that I am doubting. And if I am doubting, I am thinking. And if I am thinking, I, the thinker, must exist. Dubito ergo cogito. Cogito ergo sum. I doubt, therefore I think. I think, therefore I exist. This is Archimedes' point. This is the first truth. The undeniable certainty. It's not a logical argument in the sense of a syllogism. It's an immediate intuition. In the very act of trying to think I do not exist, I realize that I must exist to think it. It's a self-verifying truth. Notice how incredible this is. Descartes hasn't proven what he is. He hasn't proven he has a body, hands, or a brain. He has only proven that he is. He has found the self before the world. This is the famous subjective turn of modern philosophy. The starting point is no longer the world, but the thinking self. Immediately he asks, okay, I exist, but what am I? And his answer is brilliant. I cannot be my body because I doubt it. I cannot be my senses. What is the only thing I cannot doubt? My thought. Therefore, I am a thinking thing. A res cogitans. I am a thing that doubts, understands, affirms, denies, wills, doesn't will, and also imagines and feels. Even if what I imagine, a unicorn, or what I feel, heat, doesn't correspond to anything real outside of me, the act of imagining and feeling is real. It is a mode of thinking, and it proves that I exist. All right, we have the cogito. Descartes is safe on his little raft of certainty, but it's a lonely place. He's trapped in his own mind. This is called solipsism. How can he get out of his mind and prove that the external world and other minds exist? This is where Descartes' argument becomes, for many, more controversial. To build a bridge back to the world, Descartes needs to disarm the evil genius hypothesis. He needs to prove that deception is not the rule, and to do so, he's going to prove that a good God exists. This might sound strange. Didn't he just doubt everything? Yes, but now he has a foundation, the cogito, and a rule, clear and distinct ideas. So Descartes looks inside his own mind, his res cogitans, and takes inventory of the ideas he possesses. He finds ideas that seem to come from outside, the sun, ideas he invents himself, a hippogriff, and then he finds a very strange idea, the idea of perfection, the idea of an infinite, eternal, omniscient, all-powerful being, in short, the idea of God. Descartes asks himself, where did I get this idea? And here he uses a principle that seems evident to him. There must be at least as much reality in the cause as in the effect. That is, an idea cannot be greater or more perfect than its origin. I'm a finite, imperfect, doubting substance. How could I, an imperfect being, invent the idea of absolute perfection? I cannot get more from less. The idea of an infinite being cannot come from a finite being. Therefore, Descartes concludes the idea of a perfect and infinite God must have been placed in me by a being who really is perfect and infinite. It's like the mark of the craftsman on his creation. My possession of the idea of God is proof that God exists. This is Descartes' first argument for God. It's a causal argument, but he doesn't stop there. He also offers a version of the ontological argument popularized by St. Anselm, but with a Cartesian twist. It's a fascinating argument. He says, I have the idea of God as a supremely perfect being. I analyze it. Just as I cannot think of a triangle whose angles do not sum to 180 degrees, or a mountain without a valley, I cannot think of a supremely perfect being that lacks the quality of existence. If a perfect being only existed in my mind, it would be imperfect. It would lack the perfection of existing in reality. Therefore, existence is part of the essence of perfection. To think of a perfect God is to think of a God who necessarily exists. Its essence implies its existence. Many people have criticized these arguments. Kant, later, would say that existence is not a predicate or a quality that something has. But for Descartes, these arguments are as clear and distinct as a mathematical proof. For him, he has proven that God exists. And this is the twist. If God exists and God is by definition perfect, and part of perfection is being good, truthful, and not a deceiver, then the evil genius cannot exist. The hypothesis of hyperbolic doubt is disarmed. God is the guarantor of truth. If God is good, he would not have created me in such a way that my faculties, my reason, my senses, would systematically deceive me when I use them correctly. If I use my method, the four rules, if I only accept what is clear and distinct, I can trust my reason. Thank goodness Descartes can now trust his clear and distinct ideas. And he has a very clear and distinct idea of the external world, the idea of extension. He feels a powerful inclination to believe that his sensations come from physical objects, and God would not deceive him in this. Thus, Descartes retrieves the world. The physical world exists, but notice how it exists. It's not the rich, colorful, and sound-filled world we perceive. Those are secondary subjective qualities. What is clear and distinct is that the world is res extensa. It is matter in motion, geometric extension. The world is a grand machine. It operates according to mathematical laws. This is the worldview that made Newton's science possible. Descartes has separated the world into two fundamentally different substances. And this, my friends, is the famous Cartesian dualism. On one hand, we have res cogitans, the mind. It is pure thought. It has no extension, is not in space. It is indivisible. It is the self, the soul, consciousness. It is the realm of freedom. On the other hand, we have res extensa, matter. It is pure extension in space, length, width, height. It does not think. It is divisible. It is the realm of determinism and the laws of physics. It includes rocks, trees, and also the human body. In Descartes' view, you are not your body. You are a res cogitans, a thinking soul that inhabits a body, which is a res extensa, a complex biological machine. You are a ghost in the machine, as a later critic, Gilbert Ryle, famously put it. This had enormous consequences. By separating mind from matter, Descartes liberated science. He told scientists, don't worry about the soul or God. The material world is yours. It's a machine. Go measure it, weigh it, discover it. He provided a metaphysical foundation for physics, but he also created a problem that has haunted philosophy for 400 years, the famous mind-body problem. If the mind, immaterial, and the body, material, are two radically different substances, how on earth do they interact? We know they interact. I decide a mental act to raise my arm, and my arm, a physical object, goes up. I stub my toe, a physical event, and I feel pain, a mental event. How does a non-physical thought move physical matter? How does a physical blow create a non-physical sensation? Descartes was pressed on this. His answer was, frankly, the weakest part of his system. He suggested that the interaction occurred in a specific part of the brain, the pineal gland. He thought it was the only unduplicated organ in the brain, and that there, the soul could incline the animal spirits, fluids, to move the body. No one was satisfied with this answer. It's like saying a ghost can move a lever. If the ghost isn't physical, how can it touch the lever? This interaction problem is the most difficult legacy of Cartesian dualism. Another unsettling consequence of his dualism was his view of animals. If thought is the essence of res cogitans, and animals don't think in the human sense of abstract consciousness, then animals have no soul. They are purely res extensa. For Descartes, animals were complex automata, machines of flesh. When a dog whimpered, it wasn't an expression of pain, a mental experience. It was just the squeaking of machinery, like the sound of a clock mechanism. This idea justified for many in his time vivisection without anesthesia. Now let's talk about his ethics. Descartes didn't write as extensively on ethics as Spinoza or Kant. He died relatively young at 53, but he proposed a provisional morality in his discourse on method while he was building his system. This morality was pragmatic. First, to obey the laws and customs of his country and religion. Second, to be firm and resolute in his actions, even if they were based on dubious opinions, like a traveler lost in a forest who chooses a direction and sticks to it. And third, to try to conquer himself rather than fortune, to change his desires rather than the order of the world. This is a clear influence of Stoicism. The only true control we have is over our own thoughts. Descartes' final ethics, which he developed later, were based on knowledge. Virtue depends on correct judgment. If we use our reason, guaranteed by God, to see the truth, we will naturally choose what is good. Error and sin come from the will overreaching, affirming things that reason does not see clearly and distinctly. Descartes died in Sweden in 1650. He had been invited by Queen Christina to be her philosophy tutor. Legend has it that the lessons were at 5 a.m. in the cold, dark Swedish winter, and that this schedule, so different from his habit of meditating in bed until late, caused the pneumonia that killed him. So what is Descartes' final legacy? It's immense. He is the undisputed father of rationalism, the belief that reason and not tradition, faith, or sensory experience is the primary source and test of knowledge. Cartesian rationalism, Descartes, Spinoza, Leibniz, would enter into a centuries-long debate with British empiricism, Locke, Berkeley, Hume, who would argue that all knowledge begins with sensory experience. The mind is a blank slate. The cogito ergo sum changed the game. It placed the subject, the self, at the center of philosophy. Before Descartes, the question was, what is the world? After Descartes, the question became, how can I know the world? This is the epistemological turn. Of course, his system has its critics. The most famous is the Cartesian circle. How does this sound? Descartes proves the existence of God using his clear and distinct ideas, like the causal argument. But then he says he can trust his clear and distinct ideas because the good God exists and would not deceive him. See the problem? He seems to be using reason to prove God and God to prove reason. It's a circular argument. Critics jumped on this immediately. Antoine Arnauld, a contemporary, pointed this out in his objections to the Meditations. Descartes defended himself, arguing it wasn't a circle. He said that the cogito and the existence of God are grasped by clear and immediate intuition, not by a long argument. And that God is the guarantor of the memory of those arguments, not the intuition itself. The debate remains open. And then there's the mind-body problem. Dualism, though intuitively appealing to many, I feel like I'm more than my body, created a philosophical chasm. Much of subsequent philosophy, such as Spinoza's, was an attempt to resolve Descartes' dualism. Today, in neuroscience and the philosophy of mind, Cartesian dualism is generally rejected. The dominant view is materialism or physicalism. The mind is what the brain does. Thoughts are patterns of neural activation. There is no immaterial ghost. However, the problem isn't solved. The hard problem of consciousness, as David Chalmers calls it. Why does information processing in my brain, a physical event, feel a certain way? Why does neural activation for red feel like red? Descartes' dualism, at least, took the irreducible nature of subjective experience seriously. Descartes' legacy isn't his system. His system, with the pineal gland and animal machines, has largely collapsed. Descartes' legacy is his method. It's the bravery of his starting point. It's the spirit of radical doubt. Descartes taught us not to accept anything on authority. Not from tradition, nor the church, nor even our own senses. He taught us to demolish everything and start from scratch. To build our knowledge on the one thing we can know with certainty, ourselves. We live in an age of misinformation, fake news, and alternative realities. The world once again feels uncertain. Descartes' methodological doubt is more relevant than ever, not as an end, but as a tool. a tool to clear away the weeds of falsehood and seek what is clear, distinct, and true. He gave us the thinking self as the center of our universe. With this great power came great responsibility. The responsibility to use our reason with clarity, rigor, and honesty, to be the architects of our own understanding. Descartes' journey from total doubt in a stove-heated room to the certainty of the cogito and the reconstruction of the world is the birth story of the modern mind. It's the story of how we learn to say, I think. I hope this journey through the mind of René Descartes has been as fascinating to you as it was to me. He is a pillar upon which all subsequent Western thought rests. To understand him is, in many ways, to understand ourselves. Thank you truly for joining me on this deep dive. I know it was a lot to take in, but Descartes' philosophy is a dense edifice. Thank you for your time and your intellectual curiosity. It's been an honor to explore this with you. If you enjoy this kind of philosophical deconstruction, which aims to be rigorous yet accessible, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to ensure we can continue having these conversations and exploring humanity's greatest ideas together. And now, the question is for you. What idea of Descartes impacted you the most? Do you think his proof of the cogito works? Or are you more on the side of the critics of the mind-body problem? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I love reading your perspective.